Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining. I'm really excited to present this content, Quick Query, the most underused SL feature you probably didn't know you already own. Quick Query is a fantastic ad hoc reporting tool that allows you to do queries. It's probably the type of questions you're asking already. You might be dumping information out into Excel and sorting it. You might be dumping it. I have some people dump information out into Access and query it that way. Of course, you could do a complicated crystal report or a SQL report services report, but those take a good bit more time and sometimes more skill. Where Quick Query is set up for the average user. So we've got some power users and some average users. I think you can all get something out of this tool. I'm very happy to have Jason Hall doing the presentation. He's our new practice manager, and eventually you'll all be meeting him. So
don't forget, this is a library.
Okay. Let's get started here. So this is a Quick Query presentation. Jason Hall will be doing the presentation, and I'll be doing just a couple of 3-minute intro here to get things started, and then we'll get right into the good stuff. So today's agenda, why Quick Query is important. Just a little promo on our next business automation promo next month, same time, same day, or same date. A little introduction to Jason Hall, and then over to Jason. So why is Quick Query important? Quick Query is an ad hoc report writer that was added with version 2011. And one of the things that Jason will be talking about today is how to find it on the menu, how to confirm you've got it. And there's kind of two versions of it. There's a standard version that comes with it, and then there's an editor version, which for just a little bit more money, if you don't already own it, and depending on your license, you already own it, is an editor so you can modify queries and a little more horsepower. So the importance of it is it works with all modules. So FRX, and MR, you all use that report writer, but that's restricted really to general ledger detail, where Quick Query can grab inventory, project, accounts payable, accounts receivable, order management information, all the modules. And they're kind of predefined sets of data that's out there that makes it easier for you to report on. And Jason will show you that. It's typically used by people when they're reconciling transactions at the end of the month, when you're trying to find that odd transaction that maybe was posted to a future period or a wrong period, and you're trying to dig it out. You can use Quick Query for those type of queries. People use it for things like check reconciliations, to find certain transactions posted against a different period. And once you set a query up, you can add that to your menu for you to reuse without any additional effort. And if you want, you can mark it as public, and then everybody in SL can share that query. So it's just a fantastic little tool. And then the fun thing is once you create that query, you can dump it out to Excel, and then you can do with it what you want there. So to introduce Jason, Jason did some contract work for us in the last quarter of last year in 2018. He just turned out to be a fantastic, well-rounded person with over 20 years of SL experience, lots of knowledge of the third-party modules. He is strong in SQL. He's good at customization and programming in SL, excellent business process knowledge, and he doesn't talk over anybody's head. I mean, he brings it right down to the average user's level. So we're just so happy to have him on board. He's now our practice manager. All the consultants work for him. He'll be involved in the project management level, customer service level, frankly, doing work I've been trying to do for the last couple of years, but doing it poorly. So he'll be dedicated to that task, and then I can get back into just full-time customer service, creating content, and helping with new projects. So that's Jason. I will be calling the customers. I've already got them set up with 5 or 6 customers already, but we're going to love to have a free one-on-one session, probably a conference call type of session or web session, where we'll introduce Jason, go over issues that you've got that are either historic or things you want to clean up, things you want to do in the future, get you introduced to him and start building that relationship as a free call, so that you know you can call Jason when you've got an issue that can use his help. I really think he's very close to Carolyn's skill level. Everybody loved Carolyn Dawkins, and I think he adds that, plus his project management skills, I think, are better. So we're real excited to have him on board.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for that. Introduction, Mike. I appreciate that. So to jump right in, Quick Query is one of my absolute favorite parts of SL, just because it's so easy to use, and I've seen so many customers get such great value out of it. And like Mike said, you almost certainly own some of this functionality, if not all of it. The version I'm going to be showing today is SL 2015. The functionality of Quick Query is essentially the same across SL 2011, 15, and 18. Really the only difference is there are, as the versions have progressed, there are some additional quick queries built in that you have access to. So there's a few more on 2015, and then a few additional ones that have been added to SL 2018. But as far as how it works and what it does, it's almost identical across the different versions. And so you'll be able to, whichever version you're running, you'll be able to get some takeaways from this. So if you have the standard SL menu set up, you're going to see here with the different module suites, this option for Quick Query. If you don't see this on your menu and you're running version 2011 or higher, then you own this functionality. It's just a matter of getting it where you can see it and access it. So there's a lot of queries predefined out of the box. Everything that you see here, with the exception of this entry called custom queries, these are all predefined queries provided with SL. Okay, so and they're organized into suites, just like the other modules in SL. So under financial, you have your AR, your AP, GL, etc. Go into orders, you have order management, purchasing, requisitions, project, etc. So if you have this, I encourage you to just get in here, take a look at what all information is included in these. Chances are you'll find something useful. Okay, so for our demo today, I'm just going to be focused on something relatively simple. Just keep in mind that pretty much any data within SL can be viewed and extracted and manipulated with Quick Query. So even though this example today is going to be relatively simple, it doesn't mean that you're only limited to relatively simple queries. So we're going to be looking at AR documents today as our sample query. And I do want to make a quick note that, like Michael said, there's the Quick Query Viewer, which is what we're looking at. That is included free with SL as part of your base foundation license. There's also an editor, and that's going to what the second part of the webinar today is going to be, is the editor. I'll show you how to see if you own that, and then how to create brand new from scratch queries. So when we pull up the quick query screen, we're going to see, again, the base query that's already been predefined. Okay. Virtually all of the queries out of the box, they're going to show you, pretty much all information, related to that. So on your system, if you open up AR documents, you might have, hundreds, thousands, potentially tens of thousands of lines. So I'm using the demo database, so obviously there's not a lot of data in there. So you're going to see a lot more data, chances are, when you open this up. Okay. So we have these different columns here. And one of the great things about Quick Query is we can manipulate very easily how the data is displayed. So for example, I have this released column, and if I want to move that someplace else in my view here, all I have to do is click and drag, and I can I can move that column wherever I want. Okay. I can also easily rename columns by right-clicking, and I can select rename column, and I'll just change this to say original amount. Just delete that word, click OK. I've renamed it.
Hey, Jason, can I interrupt you for one quick second?
Sure.
Just a meeting note. We've got everybody muted because we got a lot of people on the line and don't want the background noise. But if you have a question, you can chat those to Mike Milligan, and then I'll either work those into the conversation or we'll hit those at the end. So just there where it says chat to Mike Milligan, and you can text in a little question and we'll get to it. You can also email me at mmilligan@acccu.com with questions, and we'll get those answered, although I do have my email turned off for this webinar. Thanks, Jason.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Mike. That's a good note. There is a lot of content here, and so I'm going to go kind of quickly to get all this in an hour. So yeah, definitely, if you have any questions, let us know. So if I right-click on the header and I select Choose Columns, then I have the ability to add and remove columns. So on the right, these are all the columns that are in my current Quick Query view, and on the left are all the columns I have available. And again, this is based on the Quick Query or the query predefined, by Microsoft. And later on, we'll see where these come from. So here, I can easily add and remove columns. So if I want to add, let's say, a currency ID, I can just select that, click Add, and move it over. Very, very easy to do. Likewise, I can remove columns, and then I can also use this tool to reorganize my columns. So if I want to take this released column and move it down, I just do that, click OK, and then it's going to be all the way over here on the right. Okay, so also you can easily sort data just by clicking on a column header with doing a left click. So by default, the first column is going to be the sort order, and this is a descending sort order. I can click on it and resort it, or I can click on any other column to sort by that column. Click it again, and it'll reverse the sort order. So if you have, like most entities using Dynamics, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of different, documents or whatever the case may be, it's important to be able to find specifically the information you're looking for. So the Quick Query screen has a number of searching and filtering capabilities built in. So by default, when you open the screen, you have a search or a filter here for, in this case, the batch number. And again, it's always going to be the first column in the query. So if I want to find a particular batch number, I could just type that in, and it's going to automatically filter my results just to what I've selected here. Okay. If you click this drop down, you can select any of the visible fields in your query to search for. So if I have a particular customer that I'm looking for, in this case they're open AR documents, I can type any part of their name and it will match as I type. Now there's going to be instances where you need to do a more complex filter, and that's where you click this down arrow button in the circle here, and that expands this additional filtering capability. And here you can add a virtually unlimited number of filters on the data. So for this example, you see this sample data includes all types of AR documents. So let's say I just want to look for invoices. So the first thing I'm going to do is click to add a filter, and then I'm going to select my column header. So in this case, document type. And then I've got all different types of search options. So I'm just going to do is, since this is a relatively simple data set, and I'm just going to say where it's IN for invoice. Okay, and as soon as I hit tab, it's going to apply that filter. So now the only document types I see are IN or invoice. Okay, so we still have a lot of documents here, and you know, let's say we want to filter our search even more. So let's say I want to see invoices where the balance is still greater than $10,000. So I'd click Add Filter. This time I'm going to select my document balance column, and then I'm going to change my search operator to be greater than, and then enter $10,000, hit tab, and so now it's filtered my results to just everything where the document balance is greater than $10,000. So by applying these different filters, you can take a very large set of data and reduce it down to exactly the information you're looking for very quickly. If I were going to do this in a crystal report, for example, you know, this would be several minutes of work to go into the crystal report, you know, modify the format, maybe add it to the screen, and do all of those steps. Here, in literally just a couple of minutes, I've set up the filters and I've got exactly the data I want. Now, if you do come up with a particular modified query that you want to use over and over again, you can easily save that so that you can access it in the future, or other people within your company can access it in the future. So when you click the Save button here to save the query, so we have a query name and description that we can add. So I'm just going to call this AR invoices balance due greater than 10,000, and I'll just copy and paste that for my description. Okay, so now I can make this, I can choose who I make this available to. So by default, this modified query is going to be available to all users. If I uncheck that box, then I can choose to make it available to either a particular group or an individual user. And this is based on SL security and login, so it's going to be the same security groups and all of your SL users. So if I select group and click the down arrow, I could, for example, select project executives and then click OK, and everyone who's a member of that group would have this modified query. I'll just go ahead and click all users. Okay, so now if I close that and go back into it, go to AR documents, and now if I click the down arrow button here on the query title, I'll see all of the different formats that are available to me. So I click that, and it automatically applies all the filters and the formatting and any other changes that I've made. So if you're like most users, you probably spend a lot of time in Excel, and you probably spend a lot of time, copying data out of SL into Excel. Quick Query makes it incredibly easy to not only do a one-time export of data into Excel, but also to create dynamically updated Excel spreadsheets. So on the top of the Quick Query menu, there's this Excel icon, and if we click to get the drop down, we've got a couple of different options available. Okay, so the simplest option is copy to table, and that will take whatever information you have here and send that out to an Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so here's my export. One of the things I really like about it is it comes in with the alternate row highlighting, so it's very easy to view multiple lines of data, and each column is set up with a filter. So you can do additional filtering right here in Excel. Okay, so some of the other options we have available, if we select connection, then that is going to create a blank Excel spreadsheet that has a database connection to this data, this SQL view that the query is based on. If I select Query Table, that'll create an Excel spreadsheet with all of this data, but it will be also connected to the database and will be refreshed as the source data in SL changes. So if I were to add additional invoices in this case that were greater than $10,000, anytime I opened up the Excel spreadsheet that I created with this query table method, then I would automatically see those updates without having to do any additional work on that table or spreadsheet. And then finally, pivot table. There's two types of Excel users, in my opinion: those that love pivot tables and those that don't know what pivot tables are. So if you're in that former group and you love pivot tables, you can easily take this data and dump it out to a pivot table in Excel. To me, this is one of the best features of Quick Query, is this easy export capability. Now we also have an icon here to print this out. Or to capture this data, and I don't have this installed, but if you have SQL reporting services installed, there will also be a button here that will take this data and send it out to a SQL reporting services report. So there's some really, really powerful functionality here to access and manipulate data. Okay, so that is a quick overview of the Quick Query Viewer and what it does and how you can easily manipulate data. Like I said before, I encourage you to go out here and spend some time looking at all of these predefined queries to see some of the information that's available. Now there's an additional piece called the Quick Query Editor that lets you create from scratch queries and add those to your menu. If you have the Business Ready Licensing Advanced Management Edition, you for sure already have that functionality. If you have any other SL licensing, then just depending on when you bought it, the modules you own, etc., you may or may not already own this, and we'll look at how you can determine if you have it or not. If you have any questions, I encourage you to contact Mike Milligan, and he can assist you with determining what is included with your specific license or not. So quick queries are all based on a SQL Server view. And for those of you who aren't comfortable with SQL Server, a view is simply a collection of data within SQL. You can pull in data from multiple tables, do calculations, all sorts of different manipulation on the data, and then that is stored and is a dynamically updated sort of virtual table of information. So I'm going to open up my SQL Management Studio. Now, much like a Rottweiler with no teeth, this looks a lot worse than it is. The basis of this is just a SQL select statement, so we're just querying data out of the database. If you have someone in your organization that knows SQL Server, can create select statements or views, they can definitely create these for you. If not, it's certainly a service that AccuNet can provide and assist you with creating these base views. So if we go in here to look at the views in the database, the built-in views conveniently all start with the letters QQ. So if you want to use one of the existing views as a starting point, or just kind of see how they're structured, you can look at any of these. And most of the time when I'm creating a custom view for a client for quick query, I will find the closest out of the box quick query view I can find, and then modify that. And there are, as you can see, there are a large number of those included. So chances are you can find something that will be a good starting point. Okay, so so we're just going to create the view. I won't get into the technical details of that. Okay, so once that's done, you have to start and restart SL to see the updated view, but I already have this one in place, so we don't need to do that. So to set up your custom query, you go into Administration, and there's an option here under System Manager, Maintenance, called Quick Query Viewer. So if I open that up, now this is going to be the same Quick Query Viewer we had before, although if you're creating a new quick query, you do have to access it from this menu option and not from the Quick Query menu itself. Okay, so I can click down the down arrow here, and I have all of the predefined quick queries available. If I want to create a new quick query, I'm going to click the new icon here. And this is really the easiest indicator of whether or not you own the quick query editor. If you do not already own the quick query editor, then this new button is disabled. You won't be able to click on it. If this new button is active, then that means you already have the quick query editor. Okay, so I'm going to select new, and then I get a list of all of my SQL views in my database. The built-in views, again, start with QQ. I can select one of those, or you can put in the name of your custom view. I always start them with XQ. Okay, so there's the one that I created. Okay, so it's going to pull in all the data that comes up as part of that view. I can then, just like before, I can modify the columns. I can change the names, the order, etc. When you get all of that set the way you want it, you're going to click Save. But the Save box here is going to look a little bit different than before, and there's a lot more options. So first thing you're going to do is put in a description. This is what's going to appear on the menu. You're going to give it a screen number, which again, just as a naming convention, I always start with XQ, and then some easy descriptor of what the screen is. Okay, we have a company filter, so we can select just the current company that we're logged into, or all companies. If there's a note column available, you can select that here. And then here we can define drill downs. So one of the great features of Quick Query is ability to drill down from the query into the source data. The built-in queries have this capability, but with the Quick Query editor, you can add your own drill downs that are applicable to what your query is based on. So you can see here, since this is AR documents, I've added the AR invoice and memo screen, the customer inquiry screen, and customer maintenance. If I have another drill down that I want to add, it's very easy to do. I just click this plus button. I select the screen that I want to add. So let's say customer history. I select any parameters I need to pass to it. So in this case, it's the customer ID screen. And click add, and now I've added that as an additional drill down option. Okay, so very quick and easy to add these additional queries. Once I get all my drill downs selected, I have a description and a name that I'm happy with. I click OK, and it's going to save this Quick Query. Now, I'm not going to click OK because I've already saved this. Okay. So then the next steps, once you have the Quick Query saved, under administration, you're going to define it as a new screen. So if I go down to the bottom of the list, okay, you can see I've already added this, but basically you put in the screen number that you specified on the previous screen. The name is going to be the description you entered. That's going to follow through. Okay, and then you're just going to make sure it's set as Quick Query module and a query type. And menu items, yes. Okay, so I save that. Then the next piece of the puzzle is you need to assign access rights. So just like any SL screen, I can give particular users or groups access to this. So I'm going to select group. Again, this is standard SL security, so you can pick who you want to have access to this. I'm going to say everyone. You can select an individual company ID or all companies. Okay, and then here we just need to type in again the screen ID. Okay, this information is going to pre-populate. Okay, Quick Queries are really view only. You can't manipulate the data, so there's no need to add any additional security here. And then you just click save, and we've assigned access rights to that. Okay. The final step is to add it to menus via the menu maintenance. I'm not going to go into a lot of details here. If you're familiar with menu maintenance, then you can easily easily add it just like any other changes you would make to the menu. If this is not something that you're familiar with, then again, if you want some instruction on how to do this, we can certainly assist you with that. And there's also some documentation in the SL documentation that comes with the system. So we're going to select the group that we want to add this new menu option to. So I'm going to select everyone. Okay, and then it's going to show us all the different modules that are set up under this menu group. Okay, here's Quick Query. Actually can't modify the menu for everyone. So we'll do controller. Okay, so this is one I've already added it to. So we would select a new module. That's going to be our custom queries, and then I'm going to define this or break this down into the different SL modules. So I would do new screen group to create my accounts receivable, and then finally to add my actual query, I would use the new link option here. And then you're just going to add in the name, the screen ID again. I mean, that's kind of the key that ties everything together. And then this little snippet right here, qqvie00.exe, a semicolon, and then the name of your SQL view. So that's all you got to do is input that information and save that. And we've created a brand new quick query that we can make available to any user. So now if I go over here to my quick query menu option and go to custom queries, here's my brand new query that I added. So I can open that up. Okay, and here's my query. So the custom ones work just like the built-in ones. From here, I can rearrange columns. I can resort. I can rename the columns. I can make any changes I want, and then I can also save further variations of this, just like I would on any of the built-in queries. And then, like I mentioned, the drill down, that's a super useful and powerful feature of quick query. So if I have a particular record that I want to get additional information, I just highlight that record anywhere on the line, right click, and then I have a number of options here. So copy rows will take any of the highlighted rows and just copy those into your Windows clipboard, so you can then manually paste that into Excel, into an email, whatever the case may be. And then underneath that, I have all of the drill downs that I've selected. So for example, if I select invoice and memo, it'll automatically launch the AR invoice and memo screen and populate the correct batch and invoice number to take me directly to that particular AR document. Okay. Likewise, if I select customer inquiry or customer maintenance, it'll launch those screens, pass in the customer ID, and pull up that customer's information. So this is a great way to move through your data without having to go into the screen first and then figure out which customer ID, for example, that you want to find. You can find the data here and then just quickly jump into the particular screen that you want to either view or manipulate the data with. So as long as the data is, or as long as the screen is related to the data you have available, you can create any drop downs through the editor to get to any of the individual SL screens. The one drawback of the viewer is you can only use the drill downs that are predefined. You don't have the ability to add new ones with the built-in queries. So what I typically do for clients as sort of a best practice is I will always create a group called custom queries, and this is where I will create an assembly of all the queries that have been modified specifically for their purposes. Sometimes those are going to be the stock queries, but maybe with some additional drill downs added, or sometimes it's going to be queries that already have some sort of predefined filter or select criteria, anything like that added. And then one additional feature is if I make a modification to my base SQL view, for example, if I were to remove or add a column, as soon as I run the statement that alters the view in the database, then when I reopen my quick query based on that view, those column changes are going to automatically be present. So if I've added a column, it'll appear. If I've removed a column, it'll no longer be in the query. So there's a real-time synchronization. You don't have to go through a lot of steps if you're doing some tweaking or further refining on your view. Once you set it up, it's ready to go, and then you can make whatever changes are necessary. Okay, so that's a quick overview of Quick Query. Like I said, I think it's a great tool, and I've seen a lot of customers who already had this, didn't even realize it, and within a very short amount of time, this became one of their go-to tools for finding information in SL, and really doing so more quickly and more proactively than what you have available through Crystal or any of the other reporting tools. So that's all I have, Mike. I'm gonna turn it back over to you.
Well, I appreciate that, Jason. You taught me something. I didn't realize we could do drill downs from Quick Query, and I hear that pretty consistently from new customers and old customers, is they want more drill down type reports. So here's a great place to get it.
Absolutely.
The other thing I wanted to emphasize is, there are, that second part of what Jason showed us, the editing and customizing is great, but there are over 100 predefined queries already there. So that's the place to start. Get in there, run the standard queries. It might give you a little more information than you want, or maybe you're missing a column or something like that, but that will get you familiar with the tool, and then you can go to Jason and say, hey, I want this query, but I need one more field, or I need one more additional drill down or something, and then he could give you the advanced training once you've got familiar with what's standard now in the box. So I don't want users to be intimidated with this. If you're just using the standard query, this is a pretty easy tool to get familiar with, and all our consultants can give you a 15-20 minute jump start to get going on it, and then I think you'll be off to the races.
And one thing I forgot to mention is that the Quick Query is available through web apps. So if you have web apps, or you're thinking about web apps, all of this functionality is available through web apps. So you can give this capability to users who don't even have direct access to SL, and of course it can be limited to what they can see and have access to.
That would really push out a lot of information to your web users for $60 a year. That's a pretty effective cost on the users. So I want to let everybody know. And Jason, can they see my screen again where I'm talking about?
Yes.
The next webinar here. Let me get to that. I kind of skipped over this. We will record this webinar, and I will send the link to everyone that attended or that signed up, so that you can review this video or share it with others, please. And if we're planning on doing a series of webinars, our next one coming up is this business automation process, where we're going to talk about Microsoft Flow, which now comes with SL free. And because it doesn't do everything, we have another utility that we like called Knowledge Sync that adds some features, and you can compare and contrast what comes free with Microsoft and what you might want for additional capability. So that'll be our next session on March 12th. I encourage you to sign up for that at the events page down on the bottom there, where it says sign up at ACCU/events, so that we can get you in the other webinars. And I'm planning on doing another 6 or 8 of these this year. So I hope you'll attend and spread the word for people to go to our events page and look at what's coming up and see if there's something there that interests you. So that's that. And then we do, I've got my contact information on the screen. Encourage you to send me an email with any questions, any specifics about your implementation, if you want to make sure you've got it, and how much horsepower you have, if you have the editor or the standard version. But that, again, that standard version will get you a long way down the road. So I hope people play with this and get back to us with any questions. Right. So I'm looking here for questions. So we got one. Is there an easy way to determine what the column choices are? The columns you can add to reflect user 1, user 2. Jason, you're probably better talking about that on custom fields.
Right. So if you right-click on the header of any quick query, in the left column, you're going to see every field that is available. In other words, that's every field that is included in the SQL view that the query is based on. And most of the built-in queries do have all of the user fields available. Now they are just going to be labeled user 1, user 2, etc. One of the things you can do is just relabel those, rename those in the quick query, and then save it as a new version, so that those column headers reflect what you're actually using those user fields for. Another option is you can actually set an alias, what's called an alias in the SQL view, that says this column, user 1, for example, is now referred to as this, and that'll be reflected in all of your quick queries.
Good point. Yeah, I saw you relabel a column there, so it's that same trick. All right, so I've got, I don't see any other question. Oh, here's one from Don. So I don't have the option with Excel that Jason showed. Is there a specific version of SL? I wonder if Excel is loaded for them, maybe? Right,
so that's available. Yeah, that option is available for all versions. However, you have to have Excel installed, and it has to be a version that's compatible with your version of SL. So there is, some potential complexity there. Another thing to keep in mind, if you are an organization or a user that accesses SL through remote desktop or Citrix or some sort of application like that, then Excel has to be installed on that server, not on your workstation.
Yeah, good point. So Excel has to be where the client is. If
right.
Your client is a terminal server, you need Excel there. If you have just a PC that has the client loaded, then it would use your local version of Excel. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, these are the type of things I think we'd love to see. I don't see any other questions popping up just yet, but if you folks will send us emails with your questions, we'll give you some tips and tricks to get on through this, and then we'll have this recorded so you can review it and slow it down and pause it and go through some of the examples that Jason went through so you can play with it on your own. And then when you have questions, we'd love to help you get to that next level. So with that said, I'm going to let everybody go. We got out of here with 10 minutes to spare, so everybody get back to work, and thank you so much for being a customer and attending this session.